Good evening and welcome to the May 21st school board meeting. And tonight we'll be led in the pledge by Lance Ballard and Brett Mackey, assisted by other members of the band, the board, and our audience. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. As we did at our work session on Tuesday night, so many times in our moment of silence, we're remembering someone who maybe have passed or may be ill, but tonight we're going to celebrate that we just went through a number of graduations without any students hurt, to our knowledge, and we're very grateful for that. And as many students as we had graduating across the county, that really is a blessing. So if you would join the board in a moment of silence, and this would be one for blessings and gratitude. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Board members, we will move on to approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Young?
Second.
And Mr. Estes. Of course, we had a work session Tuesday night and had several discussions about the agenda and consent. Any further discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Moore?
Second.
And Mr. Estes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have one visitor tonight, Ms. Lisa Toombs Bowman. Ms. Bowman, if you would approach the podium. Welcome. We do have a time limit. We ask you for 3 minutes, and we pray that you would be respectful of us, and we will certainly be respectful of you.
Yes, sir.
Also. So
Thank you.
thank you for being with us today.
My issue is concerning bus number 5. It has been brought to my attention that Miss Porter is out of line with the children, including
Ma'am,
mine,
if
on
you
the
could,
bus.
We're not going to mention names, and just
So, okay.
if you'll be generic, and we will put you with the right people.
Okay.
Okay?
She tells the children that they need to shut up and sit down, and she doesn't want to hear it. This is a continuous problem that has been going on for 2 years now. I've tried to talk to her personally with no success. Today, on May 25th, she had told my middle school child that he needs to get off of the bus and go get someone in an irrespectful tone. This is unacceptable attitude toward a child. In my opinion, I think that she should have conducted this herself and not a student. My children are not the only ones that are being spoke to in this manner. I've spoke to several parents in her route in the area, and she is doing the same thing with other children. I have brought it to the Department of Transportation and seems to be with no ado. This is my last and final option, is to bring it in front of the board committee. I hope that you can understand my feelings and how I feel with someone speaking to children in this manner, and not just mine. I plead that you look into this issue, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
we have, we could look at a video and see, transportation could look at that and see. You said the 25th, or what?
Bus number 5.
What?
It
date did you
happened
use,
yesterday, the 21st,
Okay, we could,
or the 20th, I'm sorry. Today's the 21st.
okay, we can pull it.
And
look at
then
it and see.
today, when she told the child in a hateful, disrespectful manner to get off of her bus and go get somebody, happened today, this afternoon.
They will look at the tapes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. We're going to go to number 7.
That's old business, that's your budget. I know Robert's Rules of Order says put old business before, but would you rather say
I
it to
would-
the end?
I would think so.
This is Robert's Rules, but
Board
without-
members, would that be
without
okay?
objection, I think you could move it.
Yeah. If no one objects, we'll move it to right before insurance update. Would that,
Probably be better.
okay.
At that time, I can't-
Board members, is that okay with you? Okay, go. Ms. Joyce, we're going to move,
How about if you put me after the spotlight on education? I can go to the courthouse to monitor the budget committee up there.
okay, yeah, that is a priority, so, okay. We will, okay, we'll move you to spotlight then, okay. So, moving from there, we'll go to spotlight on education, Mr. Odom.
Our spotlight on education tonight will be with the Stewart's Creek Middle Band, jazz band. I want to tell you just a little bit about it. In its short history, the Stewart's Creek Middle Band program has been recognized as one of the top school band programs in Tennessee. The Stewart's Creek Middle School Jazz Band is one of several instrumental ensembles at the school. The group is under the direction of Mr. Andrew Lynn, who has served as a band director at Stewart's Creek Middle School since the school opened in 2006. This is Mr. Lynn's 17th year teaching and his 9th year in Rutherford County. The band is going to perform several selections for us, and Mr. Lynn will tell us more about the accomplishments of this year's Stewart's Creek Middle School band students. Well, if you'll come to the mic when you get ready to speak, because it's televised, and boys and girls, you'll get to see yourself on TV if you want to go back and look at the YouTube or the version of it. Thank you for coming tonight. I've been listening to them warm up, and this is going to be a treat, okay? Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
And Mr. Odom, Mr. Blair, Chairman Blair, thank you for inviting us to perform today. This is the Stewart's Creek Middle School Jazz Band. I'm Andrew Lynn, band director. We also share a band director with Siegel Middle School. Her name is Jasmine Jordan. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. All of the students you see here are 7th and 8th grade band members who attend a regular band class each day, and most started playing in the 6th grade. They were accepted into this group back in October and dedicate one day each week after school to rehearsing with the jazz band. The first tune you heard was called Sea Jam Blues by Duke Ellington, and it featured Trent Jones on bari sax, Patrick Kuhnlevuth up here on the trumpet, Connor Teague on alto sax, Alyssa Bloomer on trumpet, and Reese Gendron on the saxophone on alto sax. We're very proud of these students, as we are all the band students at Stewart's Creek, and if you allow me just a minute, I'd love to brag on them just a little bit. This year we had 201 students that participated in the band program, which consists of several ensembles. We have beginning band, advanced band, select ensemble, 2 percussion ensembles, and of course our jazz band. This year, the band program performed for 3 football games, 5 basketball games, 3 pep rallies, 2 8th grade band nights with high schools, 3 formal evening concerts, which I should mention we've had to move to Stewart's Creek High School now because we've outgrown our auditorium with the big crowds, and 1 evening open house concert, and 2 concerts for the elementary schools, and of course, a couple weekends ago, these guys played for the Murfreesboro Jazz Fest. Our select ensemble performed in a concert performance assessment at MTSU, and the group was assessed on their ability to perform 2 challenging musical selections and their ability to perform never-before-seen music at sight. They were one of only a few bands in Middle Tennessee to earn all superior ratings in every single caption from every single judge. And this accomplishment qualified the band for an award of distinction from the American School Band Directors Association. The band also earned a sweepstakes award from the Tennessee Bandmasters Association, and this was the 7th time in our school's history that the SEMS band program has earned this prestigious honor. Our band students presented a total of 206 solo and small group performances at this year's solo and ensemble performance assessment, and 182 of those earned a superior rating. We had 12 students selected for the All-Mid-State Honor Band, 2 for the All-Mid-State Jazz Band, 19 for the Rutherford All-County Band, and 5 of those earned first chair positions, and 18 of our 6th grade members earned positions in the Rutherford All-Star Band. Along with Stewart's Creek High School, we hosted 2 major events on the Stewart's Creek campus this year, the Division II State Marching Band Championship as well as the Southeastern Color Guard Circuit Championship. And last week, the band traveled to Cincinnati, Ohio to visit Kings Island Amusement Park and enjoy some fun social time with their friends. Needless to say, it's been a busy year, and we want to tell you a little bit more about it, but we're going to let them play a little bit more first. So the next tune we're going to play for you is called Satin Doll, also a Duke Ellington composition, and it's going to feature Andrea Rader on tenor sax and Jace Hatcher on trombone. This is Satin Doll. Thank you again. Before we play our final selection, we definitely want to thank some people who've helped make this a great year for the band. First, we want to thank our principal, Mr. Murray. Despite the challenges that our principals face these days with lots of testing and implementing initiatives like RTI Squared, Mr. Murray has created a situation where our band students still have a chance to focus on developing their musical talents. He realizes that the arts play an important role in the students' lives and that a strong arts program can serve as a backbone for a successful school. Board members, we also want to thank you for the support that you provide. One policy in particular that you implemented a few years ago allows us to bring in approved instructors and private lesson teachers to work with the students. Nearly half of our 7th and 8th grade students receive private lessons once each week, and this allows the students to get the individual help they really need to reach their full potential. We also have an amazing Music Booster organization at Stewart's Creek that helps us raise the money we need to organize events for these students. They help reduce the workload for the band directors and the school bookkeeper, and we could not do what we do without that organization. The band directors at Stewart's Creek High School, Mr. Michael Chester and Mr. Terry Jolly, have also played a vital role in the development of our SCMS band program over the last 2 years. Their work, along with the work of many outstanding elementary music educators, is crucial for these students. Ultimately, it is the students who have to choose the path to success. These students are extremely dedicated and devote countless hours to preparing collectively and individually, all while managing other responsibilities at school and home. We know that in addition to developing their musical skills, they are learning the discipline and perseverance needed to be successful in the world. And we really appreciate you letting us play again today. We did have all of our concerts and jazz performances professionally recorded this year. And as a token of our appreciation, we want to give each of our board members a copy of our 2014-2015 Stewart's Creek Middle School Band CD.
We always like presents. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you again. For our last selection, we're going to play a tune that's been made famous by Michael Bublé. He usually opens his concerts with this. This is called Feeling Good, and it's going to feature Patrick Kuhnlevuth on trumpet and Alyssa Bloomer as well on trumpet. So thank you again. This is Feeling Good.
just really enjoyed that. Mr. Murray did call me and tell me he wanted to be here tonight. He has a kindergarten graduation for his own child. And, you know, the wife said, "Are you going to be here?" You know, so I understand that too.
Outstanding. Students, I marched for 4 years at the University of Alabama, a bandsman at heart, and I want to tell you, outstanding. I would not expect that type of ensemble performance from 7th and 8th graders. The maturity you showed, you could easily overwhelm this room, but the restraint and attention to listening to one another, nobody sticking out. Every single soloist was spot on and comfortable and in tune. Nobody cracked a note. I mean, here you are at the end of the year. It would be easy for you guys to just show out, but you show dedication to your craft and dedication to the ensemble, that every single performance is professional. I am absolutely overwhelmed by what you have performed tonight. Outstanding.
No doubt you have a tremendous amount of talent gathered there, and just incredible. Of course, if Mr. Holliday could do it over again, he'd rather be blue, I think. Here. But I do have one question before there may be some other board members. How many people get hit by a trombone? I just see that slide, and I'm just waiting for somebody to get hit.
Flags and trombones that we have to worry about.
Board members, anything? Yeah.
Question. I want to know if we can book them for every meeting.
Hey, there you go.
Well, always play that
Amazing.
song, because I certainly do now. So, that was a great performance. So, thank you. Yep.
Great representative for Rutherford County Schools.
Amen. Amen. Would never guess that they were middle school. It's incredible.
So, all these guys started playing last year in 6th grade.
So it must be more about talent than teaching.
Well, they were
I'm kidding. Great job, Mr. Lynn. Thank you for what you do. So we're going to give you guys a chance. We're going to recess for a few minutes and let the band exit. I believe you're going for pizza. Did I? Okay. Well, you'll enjoy that. So again, thank you. We thoroughly enjoyed having you.
Aaron.
As long as it wasn't orange, I don't.
Terrific. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to have this, too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Love good.
Would like to take a moment to welcome Senator Tracy this evening. So we're pleased to have you in the audience, Senator. So I think you have a part to play here in a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Okay, just here. Okay. We decided to go back to old business now. Is that correct?
Do this recognition first.
I'm sorry.
Can we do 8?
Oh, we do. We are going to do 8. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Number 8.
Number 8 is a recognition tonight, and this is recognition for one of our schools and our administrator, our principal at the school. Since we're being broadcast, and lots of people may say, what is this? Let me read you just a little bit about it before we give the award. The award is coming from the Education Consumers Foundation. It says, the Education Consumers Foundation chose to inaugurate the Value Added Achievement Awards in Tennessee because of the sophistication and maturity of Tennessee's educational accountability system. 10 years before the federal No Child Left Behind Act, Tennessee enacted TVAS, the Tennessee Value Added Assessment System. Value Added Assessment is a term taken from economics. It refers not to a student's level of achievement, but to the year-to-year increase in a student's achievement. The schools with the highest value-added scores are the ones doing the best job of maximizing the talents and capabilities of their students. The great virtue of TVAS is that it accurately reports annual improvement, regardless of students' beginning test scores or social or economic or ethnic or other background differences that it may be. And the letter that I received to me as the director says, the Education Consumers Foundation is pleased to recognize one of your schools as one of the most effective schools in Tennessee. As a winner of our 10th annual Value Added Achievement Award, we want to honor Dr. John Ash, principal of Central Magnet School, for his hard work and dedication. He will receive a certificate, and we have that this evening, commemorating the accomplishment, one flag to display at the school and another flag for the central office. This school has been recognized as follows: 3rd place, Middle Region, Middle Division, middle schools. Unlike most education awards, this one is based solely on objectively measured achievement gain. The school has proven to be among the most effective of Tennessee's nearly 1,400 elementary and middle schools. If every school in Tennessee were similarly effective, Tennessee would rise to the top of national education rankings. Mr. Ash, will you come up with me, please, sir? Let's go right here to the front. This is the Value Added Achievement. It says, this award is presented to Dr. John Ash, Principal, Central Magnet School, for excellence in improving student achievement as measured by the Tennessee Value Added Assessment System over the past 3 years. Central Magnet School has been among the highest performing Tennessee, to use a different number here, 1,300 elementary and middle schools in bringing about measured student achievement gain. Such an accomplishment is inevitably a product of teacher skill, student effort, parent support, and effective leadership at all levels. Proudly presenting, and this came to us on the 21st day of May 2015 from the Education Consumers Foundation, which is housed in Virginia, and signed by Dr. J.E. Stone. Congratulations, Mr. I might say one additional thing. Of course, we had some additional recognition from Central Magnet this last week, was recognized once again for being, by U.S. News and World Report, it was the number 4 school in Tennessee for, and that measurement comes from students taking AP tests, the number of passing rate for advanced placement assessments. Also, it measures Tennessee's value added, or Tennessee's measurements for proficiency too. So, and that was 2-year-old data. How many AP tests did you give this year?
1,270.
And when they get this 4th place, that number was probably well under 1,000.
Yes, sir, it was 600.
600 and something. So we may see something more. Anything? Thank you, sir.
Well, I'd like to,
Oh, sure. You want us to stand around and say, We need to stand here with you. Hold your back.
I'd like to start out by saying and thanking our teachers. Our teachers at Central work incredibly hard and do such a great job with our students. They're there early, they stay late, and any success a school has is a direct reflection of its teachers. And we feel like we have the best anywhere, and I'm extremely proud of them, and I'm proud of how hard our students work. It is difficult sometimes when a child comes to you scoring perfect on a TCAP to keep them moving forward, but our teachers have risen to the challenge. I appreciate the board's support. I had many comments on graduation, the fact we had all the board members there, and we do appreciate that, and Mr. Odom, of course. But no, any success we've had belongs to our teachers, and I'm extremely proud to be part of that Central family. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Senator Tracy, you heard that high-scoring students, you can't add value to them. This is kind of one of those examples that's not necessarily true when you do the right things and present new knowledge. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Ash. Congratulations.
We're going to do that at the end.
Now we'll go back to
Right? Catch.
get Jeff involved.
Yes, we will. Under 7, this is our old business. The 2015-2016 general purpose school budget. After our meeting, when we met Tuesday evening, or last night, actually on this one, we had a budget meeting. This version of the proposed 2015-2016 budget totals $326,144,038. This includes an average teacher raise of 3.1% and a classified raise of 3.1%. So this was the $1 million that you said last night we'd like to add and see what those numbers look like. The motion itself will be recommended approval. The motion to approve $326,144,038 for the 2015-16 general purpose school budget as presented. You asked for some additional information, Mr. Estes. You asked how that would look on teacher salaries over 2 years. So you have the long sheet here. Mr. Sandvig, do you want, I'll let you do that since this is your spreadsheets and kind of explain that to them.
And this is a comparison from the 2013-14 school year to the draft that we have for next year, so 2 years change. The top sheet, and this is the way it gets looked at the commission a lot. The top sheet shows, like, okay, the first set of columns over the bachelor's degree. In this 2015-16 draft, that base pay would be $37,920. What I showed the next column over was that same teacher 2 years before as a BS and 0 would have had a salary of $35,000, a base salary of $35,723. The increase over those 2 years, step and percentage, 2,197, a total of 6.1% over those 2 years. That includes step and any, last year was a flat dollar, 120. This year it's that 3.1% built in. But that's the top schedule. The second schedule shows, it compares a BS&2 to a BS&2. So there you see the percentage increase over that period. I was doing this rather quickly this afternoon, and I hope I did it all right. That looks reasonable. You'll see that some of them, like in year 8 for the bachelor's, the percentage raise is fairly low because in moving more toward what we voted to what y'all voted for on the alternative compensation plan. We have some years that are going to have smaller raises. We're, like on the state plan, the 6th, the 11th, we added the 16th, and the 21st, we're going to have some bigger raises in there. So that's why some years will wind up with a lower percentage, but if you look back to the first sheet and look at that, look at the percentage when you include the step raise, just as a way to, it'll help make more sense of some of those, maybe.
If you remember, the state stopped giving annual raises when they calculate it now and send us funding. They do not do annual, but I mean, we kept it through that. So you see when you go to 6, and then at 11 was the next state, and then we actually kept the other 2 steps ourselves. At 16 and 21, Rutherford County did that. That the state is not sending it forward for. So that's why you see different numbers at those years that the state money comes in again for that also, for that increase.
Thank you.
Any question you want? I will say this too, and one of the things that Mr. Sandvik said, he said, if this chart gets out, this is a proposed, we don't have our budget passed. So, if you're a teacher or something, you look at this, 15 and 16, we certainly hope this can happen, but again, everything is contingent upon funding. And it is a proposed budget at this time, or a proposed pay scale.
Again, the million has been added back.
It's been added to every classified and certified employee for that, and it increased about, when you rounded it off to 3.1%, we were at 2.6. It was a little bit over 2.6, and you added 4.5 basically for that $1 million, and that it actually put it rounded off to 3.1% if we get that $1 million.
Board members, as we're considering that also, if we take a vote on this tonight, and there is a motion here, are there any other additions or deletions or changes that needs to be considered before we vote?
Mr. Sandvik did produce a new one of your line item also with this incorporated in it, because that raise over certified and classified does impact line items throughout the budget. So that's why you have new copies of that.
Comments? Motion?
I'll move that, to approve this as amended.
Have a motion to approve as amended,
Second.
second by Mr. Holliday. Was the motion made by Mr. Young? Further
As you
discussion?
always point out, Mr. Chairman, this is not without extensive conversation, and if anyone is tuning in tonight and seeing a board that is pleased and content with what's being presented here tonight without a lot of discussion or comment, it's only because of special called meetings that have happened prior to this and extensive discussion, as well as, and it should of course be noted, the outstanding efforts of our central office staff in putting this together, and particularly Mr. Sandvik.
We have had several meetings and lots of discussion. Anyone else?
We're going to have a extensive discussion, I'm sure, about this budget with Health and Ed, and the Budget Committee will be, the Rutherford County Commission will be here next Tuesday, 5:30, right? Not 5:30, right? And those are all extremely bright and intelligent people. We'll have no problem. I don't think them understanding any of this, which is very, very clear about it, I want to point out one thing. The teacher raise involved in these two different things, and thank you, Mr. Sandy, is about 1 penny on the tax rate. 1 penny. I'd be glad to pay my share tonight if that's necessary to get this done. I appreciate Mr. Young's motion as well.
Very much so. Further discussion?
And a good portion of this was provided by the state. When the governor, and again, we talk about it for people that may just be viewing tonight, there was an announcement it was going to be a 4%, and as we explained last night in our budget meeting, the state applies that 4% to a salary that they pick out, which is typically at the lower end, or it's one that's not in most school districts. That would be the state minimum and all. And of course, it takes much less dollars to get 4% with a lower figure. And so when they announce a 4%, it's a 4% on that lowest state figure that they are using in terms of that. When you get to school districts all over this state, and you're looking at what their current salary schedule is, and you have more teachers than the BEP minimum. They only send funding for the minimum. So to accomplish part of this, a good portion of this is not local. We live in the state of Tennessee, so we all are paying it, but it's not Rutherford County tax money. For about $4.2 million to accomplish this is the money flowing through that the state legislature provided. But again, because of those other two factors of teachers above the BEP and the figure they use as their base, it does not result in a true 4% raise in Rutherford County. So we're asking, can we supplement that some locally to honor our teachers and be competitive? That's our goal.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Okay.
And do you remember, the 4.2 was what the state said at first,
And we got
came out
3.2 3.2 is what we got. That was the first figure that we got. You're right.
Yeah.
I really stuck on that one because I was looking forward to that one.
Okay. Unless there's further discussion. Okay. Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Young. Okay. And now we're going to move back to 10.
10 is the ESEA, which is Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Consolidated Funding Application. Under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and the Individual with Disabilities Act, the local consolidated grant application for fiscal year 2016.01 version includes the following components. Title I, Part A, Improving the Academic Achievement for the Disadvantaged. The Title II, Part A, is Teacher and Principal Training and Recruitment. Title III, Part A, is English Language Acquisition, Language Enhancement, and Academic Achievement. IDEA Part B is for individuals with disabilities, and IDEA Preschool is for preschool, and that preschool is the federal program that identifies children that may have a disability as early as age 3, because we serve children from 3 through to until age 22. So that last one, the preschool, is those that are identified under federal requirements and identification to be served. So that's what the B is. So this, how many pages was it, Ms. Wise? About 235 pages to fill in the blanks that the federal government wants with this application. So the recommend approval, the motion is to approve the fiscal year 2016.01 local consolidated grant application under ESEA-IDEA and authorize the Director of Schools to file any necessary budget revisions, agenda, or transfer request.
Recommendation?
So moved.
Mr. Holliday? Second. And Mr. Young. Mrs. Wise and Mrs. Bell are here again for further discussion, if need be. That opportunity was presented on Tuesday.
Being appropriate, I guess, for them to read the 200-plus
If you want to make that as a motion.
pages a lot. No, I don't think
I think
no, I don't want to
probably
be killed by the other
I'd be
board
out of
members.
order on that one, Mr. Jordan. Okay.
I will point out from that federal perspective that this is one of the areas the individuals with disabilities, that act is one of the frustrations that we have in federal legislation. Originally, when this was put forward in 1975, the federal government made a commitment to fund this at 40% of the expense, that any individual with a disability would have a full access to the same educational opportunities as every other student in the country. And that was the intent of this legislation. The funding has never exceeded 25%, and currently it sits around 17%, even though the federal government made a commitment in 1975 to fund it at 40% of the expense. When we talk about how we're going to accomplish special education through various avenues, and our state legislature put through, and our governor has signed an avenue where special education can be accomplished through some type of voucher system, the only way to appropriately accomplish special education with the goal in mind that every student get full and equal access to education is for it to be brought about in a collective manner in our school system, where we capitalize on the efficiencies of a school and gather those circumstances together and teach them in this way. The efforts that we put forward with the lack of funding and the accomplishments that we achieve are outstanding, and this plan is another one that will accomplish that.
Well said. Anybody else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 11.
Number 11 is for information only. Mr. Snell and his staff has compiled some information on our transportation department for this year. The Transportation Department has sent a letter to all contractors and drivers advising them of the bus contract award application and explaining the first and second priority list. The lottery drawing will be held for the second priority list on Tuesday, June 9th, 2015 at 9 o'clock a.m. at the Teacher Center. The deadline for application is Thursday, June 4th, 2015. Buses are traveling a total of 19,134 miles per day, which equates to 382,680 miles per month, or 3,826,800 miles per year. We have had 25 accidents with 5 injuries so far this year, compared to 17 accidents in 2014 with 3 injuries. And they have pulled 428 videos this year through May the 5th, 2015. Mr. Snell, there was a question some last night about the injuries or that sort of thing. Any follow-up on that this year? Or
the increase is, we count every mailbox bump, because if we've got students on the bus, there's a possibility that someone may have been injured, although they didn't say they had been injured at the time that all happened. So some of them, there is no property damage to the bus or to the other, but we include them in the event because we just want to make sure everybody understands and are transparent about the whole thing. So increase has been several. One of those mailboxes that will get phone calls out the next day or that afternoon and saying, the bus hit my mailbox, I wasn't here, but my dad said it did. And the bus driver may not have even realized it, because there are some places we don't like to back up any more than we have to, but there are some places that we have to back up into because of dead ends and things of that nature. So we also are traveling more miles than we did last year. We also have more buses this year than we had last year. So everything to say, please be sent.
Thank you. As far as the insurance update, we have an insurance meeting this Thursday. I plan to attend, but I looked at the agenda and there's really nothing there. Yes, but I've committed to attend, so I will continue, even if there's not a lively agenda attached to it. So, there. Mr. Hodge, anything from the Tennessee Legislative Network that you'd like to share tonight? Thank you, sir. Mr. Holliday with the Federal Relations Network, anything?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Well, we will move to general discussion by board members. Anybody have anything that they'd like to share?
I think just open this up for any discussion that the board might want to do. I believe we need to have a much better idea, and I think, particularly thanks to Ms. Barnes, I think we've got a reasonably good idea already of how far behind we are falling in the salaries for just about every level of employee and just about every duty that we seem to have. I'd like to think after we get through this budget and into the summer that we might discuss at a future date having a study just to see where we are. And I know we're behind, and I know we're not as competitive as we once were, and I would just like to put that out there for a discussion that perhaps a study could be in our future and then to see what we want to do with that information. I wouldn't want to necessarily say right now, but clearly, I think it's obvious, and I guess if there's disagreement, I'll hear it. But it's pretty clear that our employees, and from the director and everybody else, we're falling behind. And I'd like to know how much, and I'd like to know where, and how many dollars we're talking about, and then we need to do something about it. This board needs to make an effort to do something about it, and we cannot appropriate one penny for anything. So we're going to have to turn that over to somebody else, but we're going to have to make it clear how many dollars we're going to need. And we're going to have to, this $1 million that we put in here tonight is wonderful. And I thank Mr. Young for the motion. But, hey, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 million just to catch up with neighboring counties and counties our size across the state. Anybody you compare it with, really. Whether it's Hamilton County or Wilson County or Williamson County or Metro or wherever.
I can recall, and I believe it was when Mr. Watson was here, and Ms. Barnes, I'm pretty sure it was before you, but the board at that time did contract with an outside agency. I do not know the year, but they came in and looked at all the job descriptions, looked at people, and that's what they did. Don't know what that would cost or who does that. We can find out some information for you if you're interested in that at some point later on. But it's been many, many years since that was done. Yeah, at least. Yeah.
You have been on the board, I think, 10 years, so it hasn't happened in your tenure as far as a comprehensive payroll study, has it? No, sir. So, yes, that's, sounds like it's long overdue and something that we really need to pursue here, after we get through this budget process.
Only because it's been brought up, and for us to examine our salary status and our pay structure, it's always a worthy effort. But I do want to share a perspective with the board and for consideration that we may be closer than we think to exactly where we want to be. And in that regard, what I mean by that is there are times when paying the most and achieving the most don't necessarily coincide with one another. Sometimes, in order to keep a hungry atmosphere, you do that in part with the way you incentivize. Now, we can't starve by any means, and we can't fall behind where we can't recruit. But I think we want to be intentional about the way that we look at our philosophy of payroll, because we want to continue to bring the absolute best value. And having the highest test scores in the state of Tennessee is a worthy goal. Having the highest payroll to go along with it is not necessarily a worthy goal. There's more to a job than just the paycheck. And the environment that we have here in Rutherford County, the atmosphere where our classified and certified staff are all pulling in the same direction, they are all contributing to student achievement, our commitment, the quality of life in our county, all of these things are characteristics that I think are important to consider. And I think we need to be very, very careful about what our goal is. It may be that we will sacrifice some on teacher retention and yet achieve the goal of training and preparing teachers for all of Middle Tennessee and possibly in the entire state of Tennessee. It's a nice thing to have clerked for a Supreme Court justice and then go on to bigger and better things. It may be equally appropriate and sought after to have been trained as a teacher in Rutherford County and then go on to bigger and better things. Now, we can never lose the mentors and those who help us establish a culture and leadership within our schools. We have to have that. I just want us to consider the whole package and not just an overly simplified idea of if we're going to achieve the best, we need to pay the best. Value is what we do best. And right now, we deliver an incredible value. We absolutely need to measure whether or not our pay structure is in step with that value equation.
Comprehensive evaluation will help us move forward with that. So.
I had a retired teacher here last night, and she came up and talked to me a minute or two before we left, and we were just talking about funding and how you decide how much to pay somebody and that sort of thing. And she said, she said, education funding is an unusual thing. She said, if you fail, then the public, county commission, whoever it might be, and if you don't have high test scores and you don't do well and you have all these problems and whatever, and if you fail, they say, well, we're not going to give you any more money. You're failing already. Okay, fine, I get that. So you succeed beyond your wildest dreams, and the county commission says, well, you're already doing a great job of what we're paying you. We're not going to give you any more money. Well, I figure that we're not going to get any more money if we follow that scenario. But I think Mr. Holliday's points are well taken, and I would certainly agree that more money does not necessarily equate itself to higher test scores necessarily or great success. And it is true, I think, that if you take a really good teacher in the classroom and you're paying them X amount of dollars and you offer them a $1,000 raise, I think they come back the next year and they do a great job. You know, but you are showing them, at least in our case, we're standing in for the public. We're thanking them for doing a great job. But I just think this needs some study, and I think you agree with that, Mr. Holliday. I believe you're on board with that.
I do, and I am on board with it. My thing is I am always looking to leapfrog the current philosophy. If there is a better way of structuring payroll for education, then I think we can invent it here in Rutherford County. And I don't think we should be afraid of the idea that we're losing teachers to other systems. Can't lose all of our teachers, but that's a complement to our system. And if we are competitive at bringing in the best and brightest new teachers into our system, and they value the collaborative training that they get in Rutherford County, and we become, I go back to that analogy of clerking for the Supreme Court. You know, that may not be a high-paying position, but the value of that is incredible. And some go on to be a Supreme Court justice, to sit in that chair. But we should not shy away from the idea that we will be the proving grounds for the finest educators throughout the Southeast. They come through Rutherford County. They may move on to other things. We'll keep the ones that want to stay with us and that we want to keep, and we need to be intentional about that. The differentiated pay opportunities give us some flexibility to do new and innovative things. We can accomplish a great thing in payroll. We don't have to just take the simple step of just paying everybody more, or meeting the state average, or exceeding what Oak Ridge or Williamson County is doing. We need to be intentional. We need to be bold. And so if that means additional funding, absolutely, I'm for it. But we need to do whatever we do because we've decided it's the absolute very best plan, not because we're chasing somebody else's mark.
Mr. Odom, I think you were going to bring something to our attention.
Yeah, if I may, tonight. We were surprised today, Mr. If you would step up here, Mr. Evans. He was invited to take some pictures today at a school, and I was not aware this is going on, but this is something really quite fantastic in the school linking with business in Rutherford County to accomplish part of this is just really good. So, Mr. Evans, tell us about what you attended this morning.
Well, we were discussing this morning, and you know, no one around here ever gets burnt out. But if you ever do, and you want to get re-energized, go to a school and see what the kids are doing. And always just, you know, you leave there thinking, this is why we're doing what we're doing. So this morning I was invited to a school event, and honestly, I didn't know much about it before I got there. I just know that I got an invitation. Someone said it would be good to be there, so I showed up. And I was really surprised when I got done with the presentation. It's not unusual for students to make books about certain things. They're usually stapled, or they use a 3-ring binder or something like that. The kids at Brown Chapel, there are some kids at 5th grade in their enrichment class that they put together a book about school safety that's geared towards elementary students. It's supposed to be friendly for those young readers. And I have a copy of it here, and Mr. Odom does too. I think there are some coming for the board. But they had them professionally done. The kids worked with their art teacher, the librarian or media specialist, and their music teacher throughout the year. They illustrated it. They hired a graphic artist, and then they were able to work with Lightning Source, which is a division of Ingram, to actually take them on as a publisher. And they're planning to have this on Amazon this summer to sell. And the SROs are extremely pleased with it because, according to Sergeant Bill West, who's assigned to that school, there's not another book like this for young readers about the importance of school safety and what to do in an emergency that's really geared towards those young readers. And it was his idea to do something as a book. He never imagined it would be at this level, though. And so the parents, I even talked to one of the moms, she was there to support her daughter, had no idea how professional it was going to be. And so I showed it to Mr. Odom this morning. We'd love to have him here for a spotlight sometime, but the tricky thing is they're 5th graders, so they're going to 6th grade, and tomorrow's the last full day of school. So we're not sure if we'll be able to get them all together, but we're going to try to do that next fall. But it was pretty incredible. and everyone was extremely impressed with what a great job they did. I mean, just, I'm sure Mr. Odom will pass it around, but this book is something you would pick up off a shelf in a store. And then what was the other really cool thing is that they had the kids sit at these long tables at the end of the presentation, and everyone there who got a book, and pretty much everyone got one, they went through one by one, and the kids signed it as an author and noted what page they did. So the kids were just ecstatic. So anyway, Mr. Odom asked me to share that with you. Any questions?
To hook up with Ingram to produce a hardbound book in itself is a real partnership. The schools did here too.
You know, the teacher talked about they have learned a lot about the book publishing world and some of the rejections, a lot of the rejections that publishers or potential authors go through. And they said they got some rejection letters, so they were really pleased when Ingram came through with their Lightning Source division to do this.
Cool.
And they're hoping to use this to market it to SROs who work in elementary schools across the country, because what they want to do is present this information to children without scaring them about emergencies, because sometimes that's kind of the fine line that you walk. You know, when you're talking about like hide, fight, or flight, you don't want to traumatize them when you're trying to show them what to do in an emergency. So that's what this is geared toward.
You're in charge of the spotlight opportunity there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Working on it, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Young, I think I overlooked you. I apologize.
I just wanted to add a few comments. With the discussion we had here last night, I don't think any of us is trying to chase to be the highest paid school district. I think what we were trying to do is just try to maintain and keep from falling further behind is what we're trying to do here. And, I mean, $1 million isn't going to scratch the surface. We're talking maybe a couple $100 per employee. That's not going to catch us up at all. So I don't want anybody to have the perception here that that's what we're trying to do. You know, I just like to see the study complete like Mr. Jordan suggested. I'd also like to see us even include benefits into that. I think we need to look at the insurance package. Because the 3 years I've been here, we have drastically just keep falling further and further behind. And insurance has done a lot to us on that. That's what's causing it. So I just wanted to make sure that the public knows that we're not trying to be the highest paid district. We just want to reward the people that's out here doing the job.
Anybody else?
I'd also like to see, when we do the survey, I'd like to see all the salaries set by the first budget meeting. I don't like coming down to the end of the budget and then adding salaries in and upping salaries. I'd like to see that be the first thing we do. And then, because that's our main problem anyway. Another thing, I'll have to agree with Mr. Young, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Holliday too, about top salaries is not always the best, but we have to make sure we pay our teachers and staff enough that when they go to Kroger, they can come out with something to eat. And we keep getting behind on that. I don't know how many years it's been since they've had a percentage raise, but it's been 2 or 3 anyway, I'm sure. Whether it's from the bottom to the top, they've all got to live. So let's take care of everybody first and then worry about the rest of the stuff.
Good meeting. Ms. Moore, you're right. It'd be great if we could have one of our musical ensembles here each board meeting. So, okay. We're back together again when? Next Tuesday at 5:30. All right. Everyone be safe, and this meeting is adjourned.